we have a new government in Delhi. They are viewed as a more muscular government. What are they doing about it? We've had 44 Indians kidnapped. We've got nurses who are stranded. There are 10,000 Indians working in Iraq. The government seems to have sent an envoy. Who are they negotiating with? How can we negotiate the release of our citizens when we don't know who we're negotiating with?
You know, Manjeet, now they have sent an MEA person, if I have some former MEA official to Iraq. Now, I'm sure this is a very noble official, a very intelligent man. But what knowledge will he have of the theology of ISIS? What knowledge will he have of the chemistry of ISIS? You know, in a sense, where we may be unlucky in the sense that Wahhabism is active in India. But the good news is that there are institutions in India that are very close to the Wahhabi International. You have the Ahle Hadith groups in India, which incidentally get a lot of funding from abroad. You have large numbers of NGOs that are Ahle Hadith based, which get a lot of funding from abroad, which the Manmohan Singh government was completely oblivious to for a very long time. Just as successive governments were oblivious to this kind of funding in Kashmir in the 80s also, until it blew up in their faces. Identify some of these preachers. Tell them you're citizens of India. Your citizens are affected. You know the people who are basically the spiritual masters of these groups. Go and talk to them and get our people back. I would say it is far better to send secretly some representatives of the Ahle Hadith here, some representatives of Wahhabi sects in India, and we know who these people are. We know what their preachings are. We know what their contacts are. Let's not forget, Manjeet, the money that's coming into India to these institutions is the same sources as the money that has gone into Libya, into Syria, to fund this ISIS, to fund organizations like this, quite frankly, or organizations, quote unquote, moderate organizations where people join, collect the money and disappear into ISIS. So this distinction between ISIS and so-called moderate organization does not exist. If you remember, I have been saying for a long time the Sykes-Picot lines are now collapsed in West Asia. I have written about it. In the same way, this distinction between moderate and non-moderate is an absurd distinction which is there only to ensure that America and Europe are not forced by their public opinion to sanction authorities in Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and other parts of the Middle East who have been funding these extremists through quote-unquote moderates. We have to send religious scholars there. We have to spend preachers of this extremist ideology in India there, and we have to tell them that, look, you know, you can redeem yourself by bringing these people back. Sending an MEA bureaucrat, quite frankly, may make good television, but it's utterly useless on the field.
So, Monu, the most important part for India, of course, is our people, but also equally important is our energy reliance on Iraq. How do you think this is going to play out? If Iraq goes up in flames, the ISIL has already captured the second largest field. What does that mean for our energy security?
Manjeet, we lost a huge chance to get a big chunk of cheap energy from Iran. When Iran was under sanctions, we should have moved in. We should have signed sweetheart deals with them. Iraq, we should have signed sweetheart deals with Iraq, quite frankly. We have lost out in both Iran and Iraq because of the fact that, frankly, the foreign policy of India, I won't say is directly controlled from the United States, but is directly controlled by individuals who have been steeped in the training, in the academic, in the official kind of belief that what's good for the United States, what's good for the European Union is what's good for India. Frankly, much of US policy is bad for the US. Much of EU policy is bad for the EU, and it's definitely bad for India. We could have got very cheap deals with Iran, but we lost that chance. We could have got cheap deals with Iraq, but we had lost that chance to China. The reality situation is, this is one country in the world where a lot of the oil purchase, for example, is on the spot market. It's not done on the basis of long-term contracts. I go to China, and China is the country which is now 4 times bigger than India, unfortunately. The Chinese buy most of their oil through long-term contracts. India, we don't. We buy on the spot. Why? Because it's much easier to collect cash on the spot. If you buy oil at, say, X price, and you say it's because I bought it at this time of the day, who is to know whether you bought it at that time of the day, what the price was? Nobody knows the price. You may have bought it for a much, lower price than you said that you're paid.
Right. But Muru, talking about our energy security, because we still do import a lot from Iran, What is it that we should be doing now, because this is bound to impact the energy flow?
Great opportunity for us. The Shia areas of Iraq are where most of the oil is. The Kurd areas are where most of the oil is. We very foolishly, the Vajpayee government decided against sending Indian troops to Iraq, to the Kurdish areas. If they had sent Indian troops, most of our energy needs, extra needs, could have been met from the Kurdish oil that has been flowing from that region. We need to ensure that the Iraqi state can defeat the forces of Wahhabism. We need to join hands with whichever countries in a coalition of the willing to defend the Iraqi state. And if we do that, I can tell you, I'm sure the Iraqi state will be grateful to us and will give us a privileged access to their oil. The Iraqi government will get assistance from China, from Russia, from Iran, if they feel the United States is holding back on helping. In that situation, India should not once again act in a cowardly manner, as was done under Mr. Vajpayee, done under Mr. Manmohan Singh, and we should go in boldly and bravely. The fact is, we can get our energy from Iran and Iraq. We can ensure our energy independence, just as if we had helped the Iranians during the time of sanctions, we would have been much more secure today. This is the story of lost opportunities I think have done.
Professor Malapat, thank you very much.